10 years ago, I played Psychonauts for the first time, and it captured my imagination in a way that I didn't think it was going to. I mean, it's a cult classic for a reason after all. After I finished it though, and I saw the hard cliffhanger that it ended on, I immediately tried to find out if there was a sequel in development or what was going on, and all I found out was that it was a commercial failure. So I knew odds of getting a sequel were next to zero. That's what the internet was saying. So I kind of just moved on with my life until 2015, and I saw this.
And send in the Psychonauts.
Man, you can just hear how excited everyone is in that clip, and I can't blame them. I'm sure I wasn't alone in thinking that we were never going to get a Psychonauts 2. But through the power of crowdfunding and Microsoft, here we are. So now the question on everyone's mind was, could it live up to the hype? Well, I'm happy to say that not only did it live up to the hype, but I think it might be one of the best examples of a sequel that we've ever had. So without further ado, let's talk a little bit about why Psychonauts 2 is so special. When booting up the game for the first time, you get a nice little recap of the events of Psychonauts 1 and the VR game. So if you haven't played those before, this is perfect to get you up to speed. It's not necessary to have played the first game to get the most out of this game, but I would still recommend doing so. But that's just because I love Psychonauts 1, and I think it's a worthwhile experience even on its own, without Psychonauts 2 even being in the picture. We find our main man Raz realizing his dream of finally becoming a Psychonaut in all its office slave labor glory. Maybe not all it's cracked up to be, eh, Raz? Rather quickly, he gets called into an office meeting being held by Coach, Sasha, and Milia, announcing the most improved Psychonaut of the year, which strangely enough is being awarded to Dr. Lobato? It's quickly revealed that the Psychonauts are actually already on a mission, trying to extract who Dr. Lobato was working with by using a mental construct. Kind of like what they do in the movie Inception. Just like Inception, though, the construct is unstable, and as Lobato becomes aware of what's going on, it begins to degrade into something a little more reflective of Lobato himself. The office warps into twisting paths filled with teeth and signage serving as a reminder that snitches get stitches. Already, just in this opening sequence, it's easy to see that this game is embracing its roots, dropping you right into the thick of it, with an environment that doesn't just hold up, but surpasses some of the environments and level designs of the original game. As Raz continues to make his way through Lobato's mind, helping out the other Psychonauts along the way, eventually he finds himself alone as everyone else has been ejected out of Lobato's mind. As Raz scales an eerily familiar tower, he finds Lobato at the top, reciting to himself instructions, haunted by some mysterious figure seemingly manipulating him with a threat of a very powerful and mysterious psychic. Soon after, Raz gets ejected as well.
No, not her! Please don't make me look at her again! No, no! I won't tell! I won't tell anyone! I promise! No, please!
Back in reality, we see Raz and the team on the jet that they took off in at the end of the first game, discussing what the team saw in Lobato's mind. Sasha recognizes Raz's description of the mysterious woman as the Deluge of Grilovia, Maligula, the woman who broke Ford Crawler's mind. They also came to the realization that Lobato couldn't have done this on his own, and that there might be a mole within the Psychonauts.
You mean there's a mole in the Psychonauts?
So that's pretty much the setup. The story of Psychonauts 2 is definitely a little more grown up than the story of Psychonauts 1. It starts out silly, but eventually works its way into covering more adult themes and concepts. You also get to explore and expand a little bit further on the world of the Psychonauts. You get to go into Psychonauts HQ, meet some of the founding members, learn some history there. You also get to meet Raz's family and learn a little bit more about his background and what's going on there. And on top of that, I probably shouldn't talk about anything else. I really want to, but I think this story's best experienced on your own, and Tim's writing is probably at its strongest, spoiler-free.
The rest, you're gonna have to see for yourself.
So without further ado, let's talk a little bit about the game's strongest feature, the art direction and the level design. Honestly, in a nutshell, the art design is just an improved, more polished, modern version of Psychonauts 1. And that's not a bad thing at all. In fact, I love it for that reason. They were able to modernize the design without sacrificing that signature, almost claymation-esque aesthetic that they carved out for the franchise in the first game. Peter McConnell also returns to compose the soundtrack for this game, further building the wonderful atmosphere that it has. He also composed the soundtrack for some of my other favorite games, Sly 2 and 3, so you might recognize the style if you've played those games before. It's so good that I can close my eyes and listen to some of these tracks and easily picture the environments that they're representing, ranging from sounding like the casino heist music that plays in Hollis's mind to the Eastern European sounding theme of Raz's Family Circus. If you decide to play this game, try to really pay attention to the soundtrack. It's easy to forget it's there because it melds so seamlessly into the environments, but take my word for it. Give it a listen. Oh, and one last thing, shout out to all the voice actors too. They crush it. Enough said. The hub world is also expanded and improved, from the 60s spy vibe of Psychonauts HQ to the Twin Peaks feel of the questionable place. It feels a lot like the campgrounds from Psychonauts 1. They've nailed that whole feeling, but it's just a lot bigger and better. If you haven't played a Psychonauts game before, you should also know that the levels of this game are the minds of the various characters throughout the game, each one lovingly crafted to have its own feel, representing much more than just an obstacle course that you make your way through. It allows you to experience and gain understanding of why the characters in the game are the way that they are, while also helping them to come to a better understanding of themselves along the way. On top of that, they're just straight up good platforming levels. They are filled with these impossible designs, playing with concepts of perception and gravity, really making you feel like you are a guest in someone else's head. These ideas were sprinkled through the first game, but now they're implemented in just about every level, and in my opinion, this is the game's greatest strength. Two strong standout levels for me are the psychedelic level and the library level. The psychedelic concept has obviously been done a bazillion times in games, but I don't think not as well as it's been done here. It might be one of my favorite levels in gaming, full stop. And the library level, which is not only beautiful to look at, but has a really great metaphor running through it about how we tuck away parts of our personalities to conform to something else that may not be true to ourselves. Let's talk about gameplay a little bit now. So I've split this up. I'm going to talk about some of the platforming first, and then I'm going to talk about combat after. But at the core, this game is still a platformer. It plays like something you'd pick up in 2005, run home, and binge all in one sitting. But brought up to modern standards, and I mean that in the best way possible. It's a breath of fresh air, if you ask me. It is the structure of games of yore, like, a central hub connected by these levels that are fairly linear, but still pretty complex in design. They require you to make full use of Raz's entire moveset of acrobatics and psychic abilities. You have all the tools that you would expect, jumps, double jumps, glides, etc., but you also have 8 different psychic abilities that will assist Raz in navigating the different psyches he ends up in. Some new, some returning, but improved. Telekinesis and Pyro being the standouts here. You have Clairvoyance, Levitation, and ye old reliable Psyblast. The new abilities you unlock are Mental Connection, Time Bubble, and Projection. Mental Connection is a little like a psychic grappling hook. It allows you to zip from thought cloud to thought cloud, and it also allows you to connect ideas, forming compound thoughts which have larger ramifications on the psyche of the person you're currently within. Time Bubble is probably the most boring. It just allows you to slow down platforms and enemies or objects. Projection is pretty cool in concept, but probably the least used in the whole game. It allows you to project a version of yourself to help you get through barriers that you wouldn't normally be able to access. He's kind of like a little doodle bob that follows you around and helps you out. You can talk to him too. So to go alongside the platforming puzzle-solving application of these psychic abilities, there's a combat application as well. And so let's talk about the combat. It's leagues better than in Psychonauts 1, I can tell you that for sure. I think it's probably the most improved aspect of the game overall. It's still not the strongest feature or anything like that, but it is significantly more enjoyable now. You can actually apply strategy versus just side-blasting your way through everything. The game will throw various enemy types at you. Each ones are physical manifestations of the psyche. Think bad moods, regrets, panic attacks. Each one will typically have a susceptibility to one of your other psychic abilities, some being particularly flammable, others being a little tough to get close to. They're a little slippery, so you have to pull them in with a mental connection. The bosses are also improved. They're kind of like puzzles and combat applications combined into one. Simply said, they're bigger and they're better. I think it's cool that even the enemies in this game are metaphors for the psyche. Though, cool metaphor or not, the combat's still pretty easy overall, but it's nice that you can actually apply a little strategy now versus just the snorefest that was the first game. So this game has to be one of the tightest sequels that's come out in the last 10 years to a beloved franchise. I mean, it does just about everything I can think of right. So what are the things that you want when you look for the things that you look for in a sequel, right? You look for, does it maintain the feel of the original? Yes, Psychonauts 2 absolutely does that. Does it expand on the lore in the universe without changing too much? Yes, absolutely. Does it take what was fun in the original and just polish it up, make it a little better, make it a little cleaner? Yes, 100%. Does it give attention to the areas that were lacking in the original? Yes, it does. The combat in the original, I mean, it just wasn't that fun, you know, and I can sure as hell tell you that the combat in this game is definitely more fun than the combat in Psychonauts 1. I really want more games like this. It's a great example of what modern gaming could be. It reminds me back in the day where game publishers would take risks on strange projects. I miss that. Like, I wish that more publishers would do this. This game gives me hope, though. Maybe we'll get more interesting titles, unique games like Psychonauts 2 or like Hi-Fi Rush was. That was a great game, too. Super unique idea and premise, and I love that game as well. If you're looking for something that is completely unique, or you're a fan of the original, or you're just kind of interested in Psychonauts, maybe you bought it on sale, I highly recommend it. It's so much fun, and it's an easy recommend from me. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next time. See ya.